Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Homebody Chronicles. So, by now, you guys would have heard the first episode when I post this, but currently, in real time, on the day that I'm recording this, you have not heard the first episode. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed the first episode. Thank you everyone for all the support. I'm blown away. As I mentioned in the first episode, I was nervous. I was so nervous. I'm still nervous, but you know what? We move. We have to keep going. So, welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode. Yeah, I'm excited to keep this going. Next episode, I believe we'll have a guest. So that's exciting. Get ready for that. But yeah, let's get into this episode. Today we're going to be talking about 10 things you should start today to make tomorrow better. So, let's get into it. Okay? There are approximately 10 quintillion, and 10 quintillion is 1 billion billions. Okay? There are approximately 10 Maybe I should learn how to say the number before I decide to say it and record myself. There are approximately 10 quintillion, and again, 10 quintillions is 1 billion billion habitable exoplanets. And an exoplanet is a planet that orbits a star outside of our solar system. So outside of, what's our solar system called? Not the Milky Way. No, the Milky Way is our galaxy. What is our solar system called? I don't know. Somebody tell me what our solar system is called, if you know what it's called. There are 10 quintillion habitable exoplanets throughout the universe, yet Earth is the only one known to harbor life. Isn't that crazy, guys? Anyway, but like I said, today's episode is going to be about 10 things you should start doing today to make tomorrow better. And as I said in the first episode, this is all a learning process. This is not me here to tell you what to do, obviously. But these are all things that I have started / do that I believe will make my future better. And that future, I don't know exactly what it consists of, but hopefully it involves family, wealth, health, a closer relationship with God, all of the above. Yeah, so today's episode is going to kind of follow the same format as the first episode, where I have a list and I'll list out the things and we'll talk about each one together. So that's what we're about to get into right now. Okay, so first on the list, number 1, tried and true, tested and proven. The one thing that will make your tomorrow better is surrendering to God. Now, I'll give 2 perspectives. Number 1, if you're not Christian, my suggestion and implore? Yeah, I implore you to try Jesus. Try and get to know him. That's the first step. And I think, just know that he's real, he's good, and he wants to save you. And I promise you that if you invite him into your life, it'll be different. It'll be better. You'll have a peace that passes all your understanding. And I've seen that in my life. So try Jesus. That's the first thing. The other perspective is, if you are Christian or you've grown up in the church or you've grown up in a Christian household, it's one thing to know of Jesus versus surrendering to him, God. I think it's very easy to fall into the do's and don'ts of Christianity if you've grown up in it. So you know how to behave, you know what to do, and you know what not to do. But it's like, it's more than that. It's about surrendering your will, your desire, about everything. And yeah, it's like, to me, it's the difference between knowing of God and then knowing God. I think it's important to know God. And when you do that, I promise you, you'll come out on top. It might not look like that to the rest of the world, but you, like I said, we'll have a peace that passes all understanding. So I just wanted to reference a scripture verse. It's 1 Peter 5, verse 6. And I'm reading from KJV, and it says, "Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you in due time." So there's literally a formula. If you bring yourself low, or humble yourself under God's authority, headship, control, he'll lift you up in the right time, season, / at the right opportunity. So that's something that I definitely, like I said, hold near and dear to my heart. And I think we can literally sit here and unpack this for hours, but I think something important to note is that humility is a good thing, first of all, and exaltation might not look like what you think it is. Or I shouldn't say it might not look like what you think it is, but the world's view of exaltation is not God's view of exaltation. I won't say it might not be. It literally isn't. So think about that, ponder on that, but just know that there is a formula. Yeah, humble yourself and God will exalt you in the right time, in due time, I should say, because that's what the scripture says. Number 2 is praying. Y'all, I can't tell you enough how important it is to have a prayer life, especially as a Christian. Like, if I didn't have a prayer life, I would be a mad woman. I'm telling you right now, y'all are lucky that I understand the importance of prayer, because this Zoe that you guys experience would not be the same Zoe if she didn't pray. No, but in all seriousness, like, praying, there's so many health benefits of praying, first of all. So if you're not religious and you don't see validation in the Bible, hey, that's you. But there are literal scientific, non-religious based studies that show the health benefits of prayer. One that always blows my mind, and one that I talk about with people, whether they're skeptical about prayer or spirituality, in the point of view, or point of view of the Bible, is that prayer is scientifically proven, to trigger the brain's relaxation response. So, that's self-explanatory. Everybody's brain has different connections and chemical reactions and whatnot, and prayer triggers the brain's stress relaxation response, which reduces your stress levels, which reduces high cortisol levels, and God knows our society needs to lower their cortisol levels. High cortisol levels cause a lot of health issues, and one of the best ways to reduce your high cortisol levels is to reduce stress. And we live in a stressful world, so we need to keep that in mind. But beyond the physical health benefits, obviously, as a Christian, the Bible literally tells us in 1 Thessalonians 5:17 to pray without ceasing. And to me, that without ceasing obviously means like without stopping, but it also means uninterrupted, and regardless of your circumstances, regardless of not feeling good enough, regardless of thinking, oh, well, I haven't prayed in so long, regardless of any excuse you can think of, prayer is crucial. And it's also important to be consistent with prayer. I think a lot of people fall into the trap of like, I'm going to set aside this day and I'm going to pray and fast all day, for like 6 hours at a time, which is great. Like, you should do that. But at the same time, like, is that A, sustainable? B, are you going to do that and then not pray for another month or two? Like, it shouldn't work like that. Prayer should be consistent. Prayer should be daily. Prayer should be the foundation and basis of your daily routine. At least if you're a Christian. That's what I'm going to say. Yeah. But yeah, one tip I'll give you, and what has helped me have a consistent prayer life, is to start off by doing 5 minutes every day. And then when that 5 minutes becomes easy, you keep adding on another 5 minutes. So one thing that I do is literally just set a timer. And sometimes I would find myself like so into, praying and talking to God that I would forget that I had a timer set, and I would keep going even once the timer was, past due. So, yeah, try it. Even praying with friends, like if you have someone that you can call, you'd be like, hey girl, like, do you want to pray with me like for 10 minutes before we go to bed? I think praying with people is also helpful. Asking people to pray for you is also helpful. Yeah, so pray without ceasing, and I promise you, your tomorrow will be better. Number 3, this one is interesting because I feel like it's so oversaid, but I think it's so true, and I think it's just very true. That's all I'm gonna say. So this one is understanding that the fear of stupid is holding you. The fear of stupid. I guess it is the fear of stupid. The fear of looking stupid is holding you back. And I always say this to people, and I appreciate people who fail out loud because I think it gives, it's the evidence of you trying, and nothing's worse than a person who just refuses to try. All you have is your best, and if you're not even trying to give your best, then like, what's the point, So always try. Failure is sometimes inevitable, so fearing looking stupid if you think you're gonna fail, and it could be the smallest thing. Like, I'll give you an example. One of the things that held me back from starting to work out in the gym was the fear of looking stupid. Like I mentioned in the first episode, like, I don't think I'm physically inclined or inept. Like, that's probably just the fear that I've made up in my head, but it was something that was holding me back. And like, I didn't want to be that person at the gym who had to struggle on the machine or like look weird using a machine. So I did work out at home. I did a couple runs. Even running around my neighborhood was like, yo, people are looking at me like, I can't do this. Like, don't perceive me, please. But yeah, if one of the things that I did was I just went and I was like, I really don't care. Like, I'm gonna look stupid, like, and I don't care about it. So my first few days at the gym, I literally had no idea what I was doing. Like, the first day I stepped into the gym, I just went on the treadmill for like 20 minutes, and the employee at the time was like, girl, I know you didn't come in here, set up a whole membership to be on that treadmill for 20 minutes and leave. And I was like, girl, I very much did. And I'm going to keep doing that until I feel comfortable doing other things. But she could tell, like, from my body language that I was feeling insecure, and I was feeling like I was like being looked at. But yeah, her saying that to me definitely gave me a kick in the butt that I needed to branch out and try new machines. But yeah, don't let your fear of looking stupid hold you back, because you're going to be bad the first time you try anything. Like, I think even this podcast, like, I was like, girl, your voice is not soothing. People aren't going to want to listen to you. So I, again, found reasons for why I shouldn't start a podcast. But like I said, the first time you do something, it's going to be difficult. You're probably not going to do it well. And right now there's like, I wouldn't call it a meme because it's not a meme, but there's like this thing going around on social media, and it's like one day versus day one. So the way I see that is you're going to sit and wallow and be in your feelings about feeling like you look stupid versus, and then in the future you're going to be like, or no, you're going to think about it in the future and you're going to put it in the future and you're going to be like, one day I'll do this. One day I'll start working out. One day I'll start the podcast. One day I'll start the YouTube channel. One day I'll start the business. And it's going to be in the future until you start saying day one. Like, this is day one. Whether day one is writing down the notes, writing down your ideas, turn your one days into day ones. Yeah. But yeah, don't let your fear of looking stupid hold you back. Okay, number 4. This one is a kind of a tricky one to talk about, but I'll do my best to articulate it. And it's basically understanding what's good for you versus what people say is good for you. One thing that I don't want to be misunderstood is that you shouldn't take advice. The Bible talks about wise counsel, and I really do think that wise counsel is helpful. And like I said, I don't want this to be misconstrued, but let's get into it. And then, yeah. But yeah, so understanding what's good for you versus what people say is good for you. So I'll give you an example. Right now, there's a very big push for self-love and like do what's best for you, treat yourself, and do what makes you happy. And like all of those things are good on the surface. But as a person, I'll speak for myself, but as a person who is naturally introverted, who's naturally I don't want to say withdrawn because I feel like that kind of gives a negative connotation, but a person who's naturally introverted, a person who naturally does things by herself all the time, a person who naturally will go book a facial, like anything where I'm by myself and people don't have to talk to me is my jam. So I found myself like naturally doing the things that people claim were like self-love and like treat yourself. And like, so I had to challenge myself to circle love is what I call it, or circle care instead of self-care. So I had to say yes to going out sometimes and seeing my friends. I had to say yes to joining extracurriculars. Like I mentioned in the first episode, there's balance with everything. So self-love can sometimes be toxic. So I'm not saying that going out and doing things to take care of yourself is toxic, but I'm saying that being out of balance and not having actual people around and not having it's really, I've noticed that for me, again, this is for me, whenever I've felt myself declining mentally or even physically, it's when I focus too much on myself. So I know for me that self-love is great and self-care is great and all that stuff is great, but if I major on it too much, then I'll be off balance and then my health will suffer in some way, whether it's my physical health, my emotional health, my mental health, my financial health, So that's one of the examples where society or people around you might say one thing is good for you, but you really have to know yourself in order to know what is actually good for you. Now, if you're an extrovert or you're a person who loves to be around people, you might be slacking in your physical health goals or your financial health goals. So again, do what works for you, or do what you know you need to do, and not necessarily what everyone else is saying that you should or shouldn't do, if you know what I mean. Another example is structure and routine versus going with the flow. For me, my mental health suffers if I do not have a rigid structure and routine. Like, that's proven. I need structure. I need a 9 to 5. Like, if it's a 9 to 5 that I've even created for myself, like, I need that. and I need to be doing something all the time. And that something might be rest. Sometimes I need to schedule my rest. I need to, pencil in my downtime, because one of the things that I found is that idleness is like the biggest poison to my life. Technically, it's the biggest poison to anybody's life, but we won't get into that right now. But for me, I need to structure my time. I need to not go with the flow, because if I go with the flow, again, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I would be a mad woman. Okay? But yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of things. So yeah, structure and routine versus going with the flow. And then there's like going out versus staying home. Then there's also like working out versus rest. So there's a lot of different things. The world will always be chatting at you, and you just have to know yourself and understand what is best for you versus what the world is telling you is best for you. Okay. The next one. This one might be controversial, but you know what? That's what we're here for. So this one is just shutting up. Like, just be quiet. And you might ask how this might help you in the future. I think one thing to know, or one thing I've learned, is that what people don't know, they can't sour. Or let me figure out a better way to say that. What people don't know, they can't ruin, is what I'll say. So I feel like our generation, by our generation, I mean like millennials, zillennials, Gen Zers, we have this like habit or there's normalcy in us announcing everything. Like, we constantly feel the need to, like, even in person, I was about to say on social media, but even in person I've seen it, like, we'll constantly feel the need to tell people about what's going on with us, about like our next move. And I think that can be very dangerous for a lot of reasons. If you're Christian, or if you believe in the spiritual world, you'll know when you need to just shut up and talk to God about it. But then also just like people, not everyone that is in your space has your best intentions at heart. And that's the unfortunate truth about being a human in this world. So yes, you can weed out, the bad apples, but at the end of the day, like, it takes A, discernment, and B, only God knows what's really in people's hearts. So my advice to you is just shut up and understand that there's so much power in being selective and intentional with your words. So not only when it comes to like sharing good news or sharing plans, but also just how you come across to people. I would call myself super opinionated, but not everybody needs to know what my opinion is all the time. And that mindset definitely makes your words more impactful. Like, the goal is to not be that person where every time something is happening, it's like, oh, she always got something to say. Like, even if what you're saying is valuable, if you're always just, I'm not going to say always talking, because if you're talkative, that's your personality. I'm never going to say that if you have a talkative personality, that's wrong. But be selective, be wise with your words, rant to God. That's what I will say. Be selective. Sometimes just shut up. Like, it's as simple as that. And that's number 5. Okay, number 6 is to forget about glow up culture. And I know it's corny, but I always think that it's best to treat your improvements, and both inner and outer, as a marathon and not a sprint. So I think one of the reasons why a lot of people, myself included, tend to fail is that we want a quick fix for so many things. So we want, like, I don't know, like 1 day of skincare treatments to completely eliminate all of our acne, or like we want like 1 10-minute workout to like give us the flattest abs we can get. And honestly, that's not sustainable. It's just not gonna work. Like, it might work, but like, can you consistently keep that up, you know? So yeah, just forget about glow up culture. There's so many videos online where it's like, glow up with me in 24 hours, and like, they're fun to watch because you see people, they do quote unquote glow up. You know, they might go out and get their eyebrows done and their nails done and their hair done and like all this stuff, but A, it's not realistic. B, it's not sustainable. C, like, how much, like, is the effort and the reward, do they balance out? Like, you know, like, if you're glowing up in 24 hours, that probably, and I'm not just talking physical, but I'm using physical because it's easy to explain. Yeah, like, the amount of work and effort and time that goes into them glowing up in the 24 hours or 48 hours or whatever. Like, do they have jobs? Like, are they working? I'm not saying that if you don't have a job that you can't be productive, but I'm just saying, like, what else are they doing? Like, are they reading? Are they eating healthily? Or are they running to McDonald's to grab a burger because they have to rush to their facial? You know what I mean? But yeah, so just forget about glow up culture. If you want to improve your life or you want to change something about your life, like, take it one step at a time and let the end goal be the end goal far down the line, and do things that will help you sustain those habits to make sure that you actually reach that end goal, rather than trying to reach the end goal in like a week, you know? Maybe the end goal is in a week, that's fine too, but like, pace yourself. You know, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Yeah. This one kind of ties in with the last one, but this one is being consistent. Consistency is the key to success, in my opinion. I think anything that you do consistently, it will become a part of you, and you won't even have to think about those actions or habits. So, being consistent, not just in your actions and your goals, but also in how you express yourself. So I feel like it's one thing to be consistent in your goals, whether it's like going to the gym, I don't know, every day, if that's what you want to do. But the other thing is being consistent about how you express yourself. And I think that's important because being consistent in how you express yourself forces you to think before you speak. You know what I mean? Like, when you are consistent in how you come across, it shows not only the world, but it shows yourself, like, do I really feel this way about said thing? Or am I just saying this because of the certain environment that I'm in, or because of the people I'm around? So always remember that the real you is the person you are when no one is watching it. And it's the thoughts that you have that no one else can hear. So, yeah, I feel like that helps you stay consistent. And another thing about being consistent in how you express yourself is don't worry about being relatable. I feel like so many people worry about being relatable to the point where they're just not themselves. And they're striving so hard to be relatable that it's like, do you even believe yourself anymore? You know? So that's what I'll say about being consistent. Number eight. Okay, number 8 is faithing it till you make it. And no, I didn't say faking it till you make it. I said faithing it till you make it. And to me, that means walking as though you already have it. And whatever that it is, you need to think and envision yourself there in order to eventually get there, if you know what I mean. So one thing, like, even today I was thinking, like I said in the first episode, I struggle with my sleep habits. One of the things that's kind of helping me get there, but one of the things that I'm doing is I feel like, or I tell myself that I need to be an example to the family that I don't have yet. Or like, I need to, yeah, I need to be an example. I need to lead by example to the family that I don't have yet. And that could be my future kids who, need to go to bed early for school, or like my future kids who need to get up and be up and at them for work. I think one of the things that I'm doing is to try and be the person I want to be, or think like the person I want to be, in order to become the person I want to be. And one of those things is faithing it till I make it. I don't want to say faking it, because at the end of the day, like, who's faking anything over here? But like, faithing it till you make it is speaking, acting, thinking as if you are, or you have what you need to be in the future. So yeah. I wrote a note here about that. Oh yeah, so yeah, it helps you build, thinking this way helps you build the habits and the routines for that thing, as though you already have the thing, or once you've reached that spot. And for different people, it can be anything. For some people, it might be, I don't know, going to the gym regularly. For some people, it might be having a healthy relationship. For some people, it might be achieving like a certain daily routine, So think in the way that a person would think if they were there. Act in the way that a person would act if they were there. And your body and your habits will eventually fall in line. So number 9. Oh, I kind of talked about this before. I forgot I mentioned this one. But taking advice and getting wisdom from those who have already been there before. And it's not hard to get solicited or unsolicited advice from anyone. Especially now, like I mentioned, not everyone, but our generation, we kind of have a habit of announcing things and like talking about things probably when we shouldn't. So my advice to anyone is to take advice from people who have been there and who have experienced that thing that you want advice for. So I'm probably not going to take advice on how to buy a house from someone who doesn't have a house, and you're probably like, well, girl, why are you giving advice if you don't have those things that you're giving advice about? I will say confidently that this list that I'm listing out today are all things that I have tested and tried and have incorporated into my life for, at the minimum, 3 years. And it takes, 21 days to build a habit? So I'm not saying I'm an expert on these things, but I'm just saying I have a little bit of trial. I'm trying to think of a way to say this. I've tried these things and they have worked, is what I'll say. So, anyways, back to my thought. Take advice from people who have been there. I think one of the downsides of having a large community, especially a Caribbean community, is that everyone will always have something to say, which is great when you need them to say it. But like, be selective of who you take advice from. Be selective of, like, look at their life. Like, are you going to take advice from your broke uncle who still lives on granny's couch? Are you going to take financial advice, I should say? Probably not. Like, I'm sorry, Uncle Earl, but granny's couch is your house. So I'm not asking you how I should buy a house, And I'm not saying be disrespectful. Like, listen, I think there's value in being open. But, like, you don't have to do what they say. Especially if you're an adult. Like, be respectful. But you don't have to listen. And I'm not saying stop people from giving you unsolicited advice, because it's going to happen. But just know that you don't need to take it, and just look at a person's life and the actual evidence of their advice before you take it. It's as simple as that. So, yeah. Yeah, single people, stop taking relationship advice from your single friends. Like I said, stop taking homeowner advice from Uncle Earl who lives on Granny's couch. I'm so sorry, but that's what we need to do, you know? And then number 10, last but not least, is setting boundaries. Y'all, I couldn't stress this enough. Like, I feel like doing an entire episode on this. Set boundaries. No is a complete sentence, guys. If there's something you're uncomfortable with, if somebody's making you uncomfortable, if there's something you simply just don't want to do, no is a complete sentence. You don't owe people explanations. Where it's warranted, sure, give explanations. If it sparks a healthy discussion, give an explanation. But let your boundaries be known, because you can't fault somebody on going beyond a boundary that they don't know about. So let them be known. And that doesn't need to be like, my boundary is you can't do XYZ. Like, no, if something happens, you'd be like, hey, that wasn't cool. I didn't like that. Please don't do it again. That's it. Also, like I said, no is a sentence. So if something happens, you could be like, no. But just let your boundaries be known. Have boundaries. Everyone's boundaries are different, but I promise you, they will save your life. They will save your mental health. And have boundaries with everyone. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone. The only person, and at dinner, me and my girls were talking about this, and one of them said this: the only person that you shouldn't have any boundaries with is God. Like, have boundaries with your family, your siblings, your parents, and anyone who doesn't respect your boundaries. They just don't respect you, and they're toxic. And that's what it is. There's no sugarcoating it. You need to learn that everyone, if you don't know how to respect people's boundaries, it's probably because you don't have any of your own. And that's the bottom line. And build healthy relationships with people who respect your boundaries, whose boundaries you respect, and you might weed some of the bad apples out, but that's what needs to happen, maybe. But yeah, that's number 10. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Oh, just before we go, so I've had a couple people ask me why I'm only doing a podcast for homebodies, and that's simply not true. This is called the Homebody Chronicles because, again, I said I'm a homebody, and I've seen how my traits and my temperament of being a homebody and working with it has improved my life. That's what I'm saying. So if you're not a homebody, all I'm saying, I'm not saying that you should be a homebody if you're not, because you can't force yourself to be something that you're not. But all I'm saying is that understand yourself and work with your strengths and your weaknesses. Find what works for you and let it drive you to success. That's all I'm saying. So for the people who said, wow, this podcast is going to teach me how to be a homebody, I'm so sorry, it's not going to, because the only person that can make you a homebody is God and not me. So, yeah, this is not a podcast about how to be a homebody. This is not a podcast about why you should be a homebody. This is a podcast about learning yourself and working with your strength and your weaknesses for self-improvement. But then also cultivating a lifestyle of simple living and routine, and watching how it'll skyrocket you into success. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. We still haven't figured out our intros and outros, but you know what? That's okay. We'll figure that out eventually. Or maybe we'll keep it cash. Yeah. Anyway, see you on the next episode, which will be out next Monday. I hope you've enjoyed. Take care. Bye.